Yes, the disappointment of Joe Biden because this voting rights legislation has failed to pass in the Congress. And Joe Biden did, of course, criticize Republicans for blocking that legislation. But it is really two Democrats who actually prevented that from happening, prevented the Democrats from changing the Senate rules in order to be able to pass that voting rights legislation with just a simple majority. So Joe Biden disappointed there because this is yet another legislative defeat for the president. This is something that he really wanted to pass that didn't pass. He also spoke about some of the other things that he wasn't able to achieve throughout his first year in office. The Build Back Better plan, one of his main legislative plans that also stalled in the Senate, at least for now. But he sort of tried to balance these shortcomings for the first year in office with some of his achievements. He, of course, spoke about the stimulus package, the $2 trillion stimulus package that really kept the U.S. economy afloat. He also talked about, of course, that bipartisan historic infrastructure bill. So trying to strike a balance there between showing what he has achieved in a year, but also understanding the frustration of the Americans, more specifically of his base, because a lot of what he had promised during the campaign has yet to be delivered. That said, the president really not agreeing with a question from a reporter asking him if he had overpromised, oversold what he could achieve with that slim majority in the Senate. He said, no, I did not overpromise. And he said that he was going to keep fighting to achieve those campaign promises.
And Ketavan, what, if anything, is President Biden planning to change as he enters his second year in the White House?
Well, there was some big news-making information in that press conference about that Build Back Better plan. So far, the president and the Democrats had been pushing for this plan to be passed in one single piece of legislation. Joe Biden saying that he was going to keep fighting, but he understood that it might have to be done in chunks, maybe trying to pass some of the more popular elements of that Build Back Better plan in order to get those legislative wins. So he's willing to do that. The Democrats are probably going to go ahead and try to pass whatever they can with some support, maybe on the Republican side. Joe Biden also talking about some of the changes he's going to be making to how he has been acting as a president. He said that he wanted to travel more, to go and meet the Americans, talk to them, hear their complaints, and explain to them what he has been doing in Washington. And another thing he said he's ready to do in the next year, of course, looking ahead to the 2022 midterms in November, is getting involved in those midterms. There's been some criticism on the Democratic side that the White House is not really paying any attention to the midterms, that they're not being helpful. The president saying that he is going to get involved and that he is going to try to help the Democrats, both in the House and in the Senate, to try to keep that majority in Congress, because we've seen what happens when he has a slim majority. If he loses a majority in one or two of the houses in Congress, that could make it a whole lot harder for Joe Biden in the second half of his presidency.